Okay, Danielle Smith from ExtraordinaryMommy.com, visiting again with the lovely Ria Sharon from MyMommyManual. I promised you last week that we would come back and visit with Ria again because we talked to her last week about her doing her 5-day detox and master cleanse. So now we're back. How did it go?
It was awesome.
Awesome.
Really.
So
I would not lie.
You went 5 days with no food, and it was awesome.
Okay, yes. It was in fact awesome, and I was not hungry, which was very surprising to me because I am the kind of person who will start my day with a chocolate bar, and I feel like I have to eat every 4 hours or blood sugar drops, and it's really not pretty.
Well, I think that for everyone who didn't actually see our video that we did last week when we were talking about you doing the master cleanse, I think that we should tell everyone what goes into a detox or master cleanse.
Okay, you can Google it to get the absolute correct recipe, but what we did was 2 tablespoons of fresh lemon juice, 2 tablespoons of grade B maple syrup, and to 10 ounces of water. That was the mix, and a dash of cayenne pepper.
And that was all you could ingest, basically, other than
Plus
water.
water, yeah. And we did it for 5 days. People do it for 7. People do it for 14. So I would have to say that at the end of 5 days, which was last night,
Okay.
I was expecting to be ravenous and give me something, and that was not what I experienced at all. And we went to a restaurant for dinner and had broth.
Well, isn't that partially because you were afraid to
I was a little bit,
to
but it
undo
wasn't-
what you just did?
Absolutely. But I was also expecting that even though I was afraid that I was going to be tempted by all of this food. And I had created all of this space in my schedule to make sure
Okay.
that I wasn't tempted, which didn't really work out because I ended up having to go to my kids' different celebrations and parties
Right.
and stuff. So we had a pizza party every day. I had to go to some function on Friday night, and it really wasn't an issue. There was never a time when I was like, this is just torture and suffering. And I think I want to say that part of it was mental. When we talked,
That was my next question.
part of it was very much like I was looking at all of the benefits to what I was doing, which was physical, and also, gosh, I don't even have to think about food for 5 days, which was really freeing.
Okay.
And 2, I was believing in this master cleanse recipe because the maple syrup is actually supposed to give you the minimum amount of calories that you need to live.
Okay. Which
And
is important.
My big
Sidebar.
thing, is that when my blood sugar drops again, I get kind of mean and nasty, and that never happened. So I was, like, oh yeah, I have sugar in my system. So
Okay.
I wasn't experiencing that. And 2, I drank a ton of water.
So you were perfectly hydrated the entire
Yeah.
time. But what do you think it was that, because it doesn't, I mean, that's not a lot of calories. I mean, even though you've got the maple syrup, but I like to eat, right? So
People were asking me, do you miss chewing?
Right.
Just
Just
even
chew.
that little thing. And I would say by day 5, I did a little bit, but I think I went into it with I'm going to do this thing. And most important, I think the biggest benefit, other than really feeling that my system was clean, was really taking on something that I was intimidated by.
yeah, okay. So doing something that you're afraid of.
Yeah, is really empowering and freeing in the sense that, oh, I can actually
Pull
do
it off.
something before I have breakfast. It really freed me from food. I think that people have a tendency to think so many things about food. There's a lot of baggage about it.
Well, yeah.
And knowing now that, no, I can in fact go for longer periods of time without it as long as I am properly hydrated. I can in fact do all sorts of things before breakfast.
Did you notice anything about headaches or your energy level? I mean, because I know that on the blog post, someone said that they tried to do it and that it was a girl named Dara who actually went to high school with. She said that one of the things that was hard for her were the headaches really kicked in. And I think for
Yeah.
her, too, it was partially, caffeine. And I know that you
Yeah.
did a bit of a pre-cleansing.
I have to say, I don't drink any caffeine anyway,
Okay.
but the pre-cleansing period we did for a week beforehand, which was all organic, vegetarian, no wheat, and minimally processed, and I think that prepared my system for it. I did not experience any headaches. I think that might be the caffeine, and I would have to say that I didn't go through the cycles that I normally experience during the day of the food coma
Right.
after lunch.
You're hungry and
I
you're
didn't
tired
get that.
and you're...
And
Okay.
I also, every time I was concerned that I would get the headaches, So I was really conscious of drinking water and the mixture before I was feeling any symptoms. And, people do say that, like, make sure you're drinking before you're thirsty, because when you're thirsty, it's too late.
Right.
And I was really conscious of that, and I slept like a baby. I mean, it was just ridiculous.
How much of the lemonade were you drinking?
We prepared a liter, every night.
Liter.
And I think I would go through less than one, but almost that full jug. So, and I was saying at the end, this taste is not something I'm sick of.
Say, you should hate lemonade and cayenne pepper by now.
I still have it. I'm like, I'm not going to throw the rest of this juice out. I'm just going to keep drinking it. The kids will like it. And yeah, it was odd. Today, when I was coming to meet you, I was like, oh man, I have to budget an extra 30 minutes for breakfast. That was... I'm like,
one of those things you haven't been accounting for.
Yeah, exactly. So I was like, maybe I'll just drink some of the lemonade and I'll be fine.
Yeah. One of the questions that I had promised myself I would ask you is, do you think that you saw benefits 3 days in? Because when I think about trying to balance this kind of thing with my kids and, cooking meals for them, and would I potentially get extremely crabby? Would I see a benefit doing it 3 days in? Or do you think that the minimum is 5 days?
I think if that was your intention, and saying, I'm going to do this for 3 days. I think for me personally, it was important to go to my edge, which was 5.
Okay.
But I think if you said, okay, my edge is 3 days, that's really going to be pushing myself past my comfort zone, and creating that success is really important.
So how much of this do you think, how much of the benefit, because I know that a big part of this for you was going in with the idea of it being mentally cleansing. How much do you think of the benefit that you walk away with is that mental cleansing?
I would say probably 60% mental, because I don't want to discount the physical part too, which was that I had a lot more energy than I expected, that I was sleeping really well. I had a lot of it was just a lot more physically beneficial than I thought it would be. But definitely the mental clarity, letting go of a lot of preconceptions about myself is very powerful.
So based on your experience, someone decides that they want to do this. Obviously there are things that we should be aware of. What do you think was the most important thing that you said to yourself, or that you did to yourself as you were entering to make this, going into it, to make this something that you could actually in fact accomplish?
I think I did it on camera with you last week when I said, you know what? I just shifted from thinking, oh my gosh, I'm so scared, I'm not going to be able to do this, to, this is going to be great, and there's going to be a lot that I'm going to gain just logistically. And really, my sister and I were like, oh, dust off the plates. We actually have to clean these things, and, just all of the paraphernalia that comes with food. That mental shift was really great. It was great.
I love that this went so well for you. Yeah. Yay for Detox, right?
Yeah.
So now we have to see whether or not if you're all clean. Now we have to see if I can do it.
Yes, you can. I'm with you.
We'll see. Thanks so much for joining us. Ria Sharon from MyMommyManual and Danielle Smith from ExtraordinaryMommy.com.